Hello.
Hello. Hey,
Good afternoon, everyone.
good afternoon. See if we got everybody. Before we get started, Mr. Elick, what did you find on the return for Mr. Tucker? Oop, and you're still muted.
How's that?
I can hear you now. So what did you see about the return on Mr. Tucker?
That it's been served. I checked with the district clerk and I prepared her a affidavit of citation, which I hand delivered to her. She had indicated she had served the papers, all of the papers, including the order for substitute service and the notice of hearing and the original application protective order on April the 1st at 11:21 a.m.
Okay.
And she told me, this document has been given to her. I think she signed it by today. I mean,
Okay.
you know, that's an affidavit saying she did all that.
Okay. All right. I don't see him here, so we'll go
Anyway,
ahead.
yeah, she told me she had, and I gave her that affidavit to document the file.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Are we waiting for anybody else as you look around the screen?
No, I've got my client plus her mother and aunt here today.
Okay. And have to remind Mr. Harrell, who are you representing?
I represent Dad, who's in prison.
Okay.
You turn sideways, get more.
So is that Mr. Tucker?
Am I on the
That's
wrong
Mr.
case?
Clayton.
I thought this was Clayton.
It's Mr.
Yeah,
Clayton.
well, Mr. Tucker is
The father of the
the
three
third
children,
party respondent.
but he's representing
Yeah,
Corey.
okay. I got
Yeah.
confused there.
But is
No,
that?
I represent Corey Clayton Sr.
I see. Okay. 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 All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. This is cause number 2021 L7826. We're here on the protective order, which is styled Kristin Faye Arnold versus James Tucker. So let me have everyone announce who's here. I'll start at the top. Mr. Elick.
Present with my client, Kristin Faye Arnold, the applicant in the protective order, as well as a respondent in the CPS case on file in this cause.
Okay, and Miss Jasper.
Kendra Jasper for the department, and I have our caseworker, Mahogany Jones, with us today.
And Mr. Harrell.
John Harrell for Corey Wayne Clayton Sr., father.
And Miss McCurley.
Harry McCurley, attorney ad litem for the children.
All right, so we're here today for the protective order. The respondent in this case, James Tucker, has been served. It's about 1:37. I don't see him here. Mr. Elick, what witnesses will you have today?
I've got present with me the applicant, Kristin Arnold, and her mother, who is also a co-applicant in the case, Gina Conant. And I've also got the aunt here, not necessarily for the protective order, but for any other issues that come up on the status hearing.
All right, so
And her name.
Ms. Jasper, you have any witnesses today?
Not for the protective order, only for the status hearing, which would be Miss Jones, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Harrell, do you have any witnesses?
I have no witnesses, Judge.
And Ms. McCurley?
I don't have any witnesses unless, except for potentially CASA if nobody else calls them.
Okay. All right, so if I can get, guess Ms. Arnold, Ms. Conant, and Ms. Jones to raise your right hands.
They'll get behind me, Judge, where you can see them.
Okay, do you and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Elick, you may proceed.
I'm going to call Kristin Arnold as my first witness, Your Honor. Okay. Kristin, would you tell the judge your name?
Kristin Faye Arnold.
And are you the cross applicant in the protective order that's been filed in this cause against Mr. James Tucker?
Yes, I am.
And would you describe to the judge who the third-party respondent, James Tucker, is or was in connection with you?
He was my boyfriend at the time, and he's the father of my unborn child.
And have you not filed this cross-action application for a protective order against third-party respondent James Tucker?
I have.
And you've alleged in your pleadings that you're in fear of imminent physical harm, bodily injury, assault, or sexual assault, or in the alternative, sexual contact with that's harmful to emotionally or mentally harmful to your children. Is that correct?
Correct.
And would you tell the judge what kind of statements or actions on behalf of Mr. Tucker makes you in imminent fear of bodily injury to yourself or the children?
His contact with me made on March 15th with his vulgar language, and threats made based on the fact of having police sent to his address to do a wellness check.
And is that reflected in Kristin Arnold Exhibit 4 that's been on file with the court since March 16, 2021?
Yes, sir.
And I'm showing you a copy of it. And that's where Mr. Tucker used coarse language with an F about you, I guess, had alerted the police down in where he's living down in Henderson, Texas. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And they came to his house to check where he was doing, and he sent you this exhibit number 4. Is that right?
That's correct.
And when you got that, what was your reaction to the language and the tenor of exhibit number 4?
It created fear for what could follow.
And had you previously sent Mr. Tucker a certified letter not to trespass on your mother's home or your home or where you work?
Correct.
And he did in fact receive that, did he not?
Yes.
And so that notice, was that received to him prior to this exhibit number 4, which is dated March 15th, 2021?
I believe so.
And he says in here, I want to kill myself. Let's see. Let's see. I don't want to have to repeat the vulgar language, but did this exhibit number 4 make you think he would harm you if he ever got a chance to?
Yes, because he was in fear of what could come from the cops being at his address.
Okay. And so had there been an incident in which one of your children was infected with gonorrhea, sexually transmitted disease?
Yes, sir.
And did you later learn anything connected to Mr. Tucker regarding the gonorrhea?
Yes, sir, that he was also positive.
And how did you learn that information?
Based on CPS requesting that he get tested, and his results were positive.
Did Mr. Tucker contact you to let you know his results were positive for gonorrhea?
Yes.
By text or by email, or how?
By text, and then I forwarded those results onto my caseworker at the time, William Keller.
Okay. And do you have a belief as to who probably infected your daughter?
James Tucker.
And how old is your daughter, the one that got infected with gonorrhea?
She was 2 at the time and she's now 3.
Okay. And so there's no way she could have been out doing anything to get gonorrhea, being a small 2-year-old child. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so, did you do anything to give your child gonorrhea?
No, sir.
And so the only other person that would have had close contact with your child would have been who?
James Tucker.
And James Tucker then later disclosed to you, admitted to you that he had gonorrhea.
Correct.
And did you later find out you had gonorrhea?
Yes, sir.
Did you know when beforehand that you had gonorrhea, or when did you learn you had gonorrhea?
I found out on February 9th, following a doctor's appointment that I had with my pregnancy.
And that was a routine appointment with your doctor?
Yes, sir.
And what doctor was that?
Tori Pierce at Elite Women's Care Center.
Okay. And when did you learn your daughter had gonorrhea?
February 9th, following my doctor's appointment.
So that very same day when you found you had a gonorrhea, then you found your 2-year-old daughter, Graceland LaFay Clayton had gonorrhea. Is that right?
Correct.
And when did you learn Mr. James Tucker had gonorrhea?
I don't recall the exact.
Was it a day or two later?
It was at the end of the week when CPS had requested him get tested.
Okay, so
I think it was the 12th.
So it was subsequent to February the 9th, 2021. In light of the infection of your 2-year-old daughter and yourself, are you in fear of your children being sexually molested and maybe given a venereal disease by anyone?
Other than James Tucker, no, just based on.
Okay, you in other words, you're in fear for your children, what James Tucker, if he's exposed to them or comes close to them, might do.
Correct.
And were you totally shocked when you learned that James Tucker had gonorrhea?
Absolutely.
Were you shocked when you learned that your 2-year-old daughter had gonorrhea?
Absolutely.
And you feel like who do you feel is the only one that could have infected your little 2-year-old daughter?
James Tucker.
Okay. Now, did James Tucker have any conversations with you when this CPS case was initially filed regarding why CPS was involved in taking your children from you?
Just saying that, he didn't see a reason for all this, that he hadn't done it, but if they try to come and arrest him, he will attack the police. He's not going to go down for this. He's trying to say he didn't do it, but of course, everything's showing that he had to have.
I see. So what was the reason you filed the protective order in this CPS case?
To ensure the safety of me and my children. So, he's not able to come, anywhere around me or my children.
Okay. And has he made any statements regarding your children in connection with the events that occurred in February of 2021?
Not directly. I mean, I haven't had contact with him since. I've actually blocked his contact. So.
Okay. All right. And so you pled in your pleading certain, you're asking the judge to prohibit certain contact by Mr. Tucker. Is that right?
Correct.
And it's quite a long list of 15 things, I think they're in there on page 5 and 6. You're asking the judge after this hearing to grant your protective order and prohibit Mr. Tucker from doing the acts that you have asked the court to prohibit as reflected in your pleadings filed with the court.
Correct.
And are you further asking the court to extend the protective order for the maximum amount of time? I think it's 2 years.
Correct.
How old are your children?
My current children, they are 4, 3, and 2.
And so they're very young children, and they'll still be very young children 2 years from now. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Are these children able to defend themselves in any way from Mr. Tucker should he come around your residence or your premises within the next 2 years?
No, sir.
Do you feel in light of their young ages that the protective order should be extended for 2 years so that the court will make sure they're not somehow exposed to Mr. Tucker or his conduct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. And you've had to hire me as an attorney in this case, have you not?
Yes, sir.
And you've pled for attorney fees against Mr. Tucker,
Yes, sir.
although you understand that even if the attorney fees were granted, it's not a guarantee Mr. Tucker will pay, but you're asking the judge to pay reasonable attorney fees and the cost in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're asking the judge, I guess today, this is probably for a temporary protective order. No, you got the temporary. So this will be a permanent protective order for as long as the court grants it for. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you think anything else in relation to Mr. Tucker and his activities that you think the court should hear about today at this protective order hearing?
Just, to ensure that me and my kids are, protected in this manner, because this shows that by law, he's not allowed to be around us. And so that gives me the peace of knowing that he isn't allowed around us, and I have the law to back me up on that.
And did your mother join into the application? Because Mr. Tucker also was around your mother's house when some of these events occurred. Is that correct?
Correct.
And your mother is here today. I guess I'll ask her the same question. So pass the witness.
Ms. Jasper, any questions?
No questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Hey, Mr. Harrell,
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. McCurley.
No questions, Judge.
All right, so Mr. Elick, who's your next?
Gina, Conant. And I'll move over a little where you can see her, Judge.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Gina, could you tell the judge your name?
Gina Conant.
And what relationship do you have with Kristin Faye Arnold?
I'm her mother.
And what relationship do you have with Sadie Renee Clayton, Graceland Faye Clayton, and Weston Wayne Clayton?
I'm their grandmother.
And now, some of the time, I guess, when this case was initiated, was Kristin Faye Arnold and her children staying with you?
Yes, they'd stay there during the week, and then she'd go back to her house on the weekends
And where is Kristin Faye Arnold's house?
in Baytown.
Okay. And what's the address of your house?
5057 Strauss Road, Sealy, Texas, 77474.
Okay. And so was Mr. Tucker also in your home for some of the time, made the basis of this case?
Yes.
And how was he represented to you when you met Mr. Tucker?
He seemed to be really helpful with the kids, and he never showed any signs of doing any harm. When I had asked him about criminal background, he didn't have one of those either, as far as I was aware. He showed no signs of being a threat to anyone.
Okay. But since this case, the events of this case have come forward, and it's been disclosed, you heard your daughter testify about the gonorrhea she was infected with, and the gonorrhea your 2-year-old grandchild Graceland was infected with. Have you changed your mind about Mr. Tucker?
Yes, I have.
And what's your opinion today?
Today, I think that he could create harm to us and the kids by the way that he reacted to some of the things and the way that he dealt with CPS whenever I heard him speaking to them on the phone. The fact that he didn't want to go get tested and all those good things, for the fact that he was left alone with the kids and given opportunities to do things to the kids. I really believe that he's a big threat to our family.
Yeah. Do you at all believe your daughter did anything of a perverse sexual nature to infect your granddaughter Graceland Faye Clayton?
No, I do not.
And then, of course, you've been around your daughter her whole life and these grandchildren all their life. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how often did Kristin come to your home to stay while she was at work?
She would come there for the week. And
Okay.
then go home.
did you have an opportunity to observe Kristin Faye Arnold with your grandchildren?
Yes, I did.
Was there anything in her conduct that caused you any pause or any concern concerning the safety of your grandchildren?
No, there wasn't.
Okay. And has your daughter ever showed any propensity for molesting little children sexually?
No.
Now, as regard to James Tucker, it sounds like you were shocked to find out he would ever do a horrible thing sexually to a 2-year-old child. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
But once you heard that, and you heard about, did you hear also that Mr. Tucker ended up having gonorrhea as well a few days after February the 9th, 2021?
Yes.
And when you learned that information, did that cause you any concern about the
Yes.
welfare of the children?
Yes.
And I guess you were here the last hearing when when your daughter introduced exhibit number 4, were you not?
Yeah.
And had you seen that exhibit?
She had showed it to me, yes.
Would that cause you concern if you were to get such a document from Mr. Tucker and using the profane language he used in this exhibit number 4? Would that cause you concern?
Yes.
And what reaction would you have if you were to receive that?
If I would have just got that from someone, if I didn't have a lawyer, I would have at least blocked their number or asked them
Yeah.
not to call me anymore.
Would that put you in fear of imminent bodily injury?
Yes.
Okay. So you're asking the judge to grant this protective order against Mr. Tucker as well, is that right?
Yes.
And are you asking it to be extended to the maximum length of time, which I believe to be 2 years?
Yes.
Is that due to the tender ages of these 3 children?
Yes.
And also Mr. Tucker's attitude since the investigation of CPS initiated? You think his attitude has not been, how would you describe his attitude?
He hasn't been very helpful or responsive to anybody who wants to try to contact him.
Has he acted threatening toward a CPA or any agencies?
He talked very abruptly to William Keller whenever I was in the car with him trying to get some of the testing done and things, and I just didn't appreciate the way he was talking to people.
And was that a shock to you to see that's his true personality?
Yes, he never showed signs of being angry or anything until he was accused of all this, and he just seemed to be a very angry person after that, kind of violent,
Mhm.
angry.
Did he seem concerned about the little children or
No.
concerned about himself?
Just himself.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Jasper
No questions of this witness, Your Honor.
and Mr. Harrell,
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. McCarley.
No questions, Judge.
All right. So, Mr. Elick, do you want to put on some testimony about attorney's fees?
Yes, Judge. I've spent about at least 15 hours on the temporary, all the pleadings in connection with this protective order. And I think a reasonable fee in this area would be $250 per hour for the time spent. And I've had practiced law for 48 years, had a lot of experience in these kind of cases. And I think that's a reasonable, fair attorney fee to charge in connection with filing and presenting evidence for a protective order. And so I'd ask the judge to award 15 hours times $250 in attorney's fees against Mr. Tucker.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Elick, about the fees?
No, Your Honor.
Right. So as far as the protective order is concerned, and I'll, grant the protective order against James Tucker and extend that for the period of 2 years and award Mr. Elick the fees of the $250 an hour for 15 hours. So Mr. Elick, if you'll prepare that.
I will, Judge.
All right. So then go back to Ms. Jasper. Do you have some other testimony that you want to prepare on the CPS end of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I like to call him Mahogany Jones.
Okay. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, could you please state your name for the record?
Mahogany Jones.
And are you the current caseworker in this case?
Yes.
Have you determined whether there are any prior court actions involving the children, such as a prior removal?
No.
So there's no court of continuing exclusive jurisdiction is what I'm asking. A prior court.
As far as I know, no.
Okay, that's fine. Has the mother in this case, Kristin Arnold, been served?
Yes, she has.
And as to the father, Corey Clayton, has he been served? I know he's incarcerated.
A citation was issued, but it hasn't been returned yet.
Do you know when that citation was issued?
On March 1st.
And to your knowledge, you haven't seen a return and you don't know if he's been served. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And are there any issues with Native American, Native Alaskan, or tribal family heritage?
No,
So ICWA does not apply in this case. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And going to the family plan of service. So the family plan of service, there was one created for Ms. Arnold, correct?
Correct.
And it's currently been filed with the court?
Yes, yes, it has.
Okay. Could you tell us what
Yes.
the contents of her service plan are? What services you're asking her to complete?
Okay, we're asking Ms. Arnold to complete her parenting class, psychological evaluation, individual counseling, and random UAs.
And has she reviewed that family plan of service?
Yes, she has.
And has she signed that family plan of service?
Yes,
And are you asking that her family plan of service be made an order of the court?
yes, I am.
And that is in the children's best interest, correct?
Correct.
Okay. As to Corey Clayton, has a family plan of service been created for him?
A family plan has not been created for Mr. Clayton.
Are there plans to have one created for him sometime in the future?
Yes,
Okay. At this time, do you know what services you will be asking him to complete?
the same services, a parenting class, a psychological evaluation, individual counseling, and some individual, I'm sorry, I said individual counseling already.
And to your knowledge, are any of these services available while he's incarcerated through his facility?
To my knowledge, no.
Will the department be looking at adjustments to be made for him to be able to participate in some of those services while he is incarcerated?
Yes,
And when that family plan of service is created, the department will be presenting it to the court to be approved, correct?
correct.
Or made an order of the court, excuse me.
Yes.
All right. And going back to service, has the department made their efforts to, has the department located all missing parents or persons in this case?
Yes.
Now, has either Ms. Arnold or Mr. Clayton provided or submitted to the department a caregiver resource form?
Mrs. Arnold has.
And are the children currently up to date on their medical and dental?
Yes, they are.
And are any of the children receiving psychotropic medication?
No.
As far as visitation for Ms. Arnold, is that visitation plan to be supervised?
Yes.
And how often is she allowed to meet with the children? What's the base plan?
The base plans for us to visit at least once a week. She's visiting once a week for at least an hour. So the plan right now, she visits on Fridays for about an hour and a half.
And Mr. Clayton is currently incarcerated. Do we know when his release date is?
I do not have that in front of me.
Will it be before the end of this case?
No.
Okay. Are there any current plans for visitation with him and the children?
At this time, there are no plans for visitation with him and his children.
Believe that is it. Is there anything else that you would like to add, present to the court that I didn't ask you about today, perhaps?
No.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes, Your Honor. On the caregiver resource farm, Ms. Mahogany, have you sent one to Mr. Clayton, or have y'all not provided one at all?
I have not sent one to him.
Okay. Is that something the department can do so we can give him a chance to designate someone as a caregiver?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Judge. I would note that I looked up Mr. Clayton's offender details, and he's parole eligibility be in November of 2024, just for the court's information.
Thank you, Ms. McCurley.
Just a couple. Has Mr. Clayton been adjudicated as the father of the children, or is he merely an alleged father?
He did sign.
He's been adjudicated. He is on the children's birth certificates.
Has he signed an acknowledgement of paternity? Has he signed an acknowledgement of paternity for the children?
Yes, ma'am, on Sadie and Graceland, and he did a DNA test.
Miss Jones is testifying right now.
Okay.
Judge, I object. He's on the birth certificate. That is an acknowledgement. That's a presumption under the law.
Okay. Well, right now, let Ms. McCurley ask her questions of Ms. Jones.
Ms. Jones, to your knowledge, has Mr. Clayton signed an acknowledgement of paternity for the 3 children?
To my knowledge, he has not. I'm not aware of that.
And so has the department or will the department be doing a diligent search with the paternity registry to see if there's anything on file?
Yes.
Okay. And so you stated as part of mom's service plan that she was to do random UAs. Has drug use been a concern with the mom in this case?
No.
Okay. And so if she recently took a UA and a hair follicle, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so is it your understanding that if both of those tests come back negative, that the substance abuse assessment and the UAs part of the service plan would not be, she would not have to continue to do those?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the current visitation plan between mom and the children?
So as stated, mom will visit at least once a week while the children are in the foster home. The plan now is for her to visit on Fridays from about an hour to hour and a half.
And do those visits take place at the CPS office in Belleville?
Yes.
Okay. And is the department currently exploring family placement options?
Yes.
And so who is the department looking at as a potential placement?
With Mrs. Tina Kaz, that's a maternal aunt, great aunt to the children. A home study has been submitted and it was done, I believe, on Saturday, this past Saturday.
Okay, and so what is the next step in getting that approval complete?
The next step is for the actual home study to be submitted to the department, written up and submitted to the department. And once that is done, the supervisor or program director will review it and approve it or deny the home study.
Okay, and so do you have an estimated time in which you think that might be completed?
I do not.
Okay, do you know about how long it typically takes for that to happen?
It's as soon as we get it back, I believe it's expedited, so they should be looking at it rather quickly.
Okay. And aside from anything that's raised in the home study itself, the report from the provider, does the department have any current concerns about Ms. Cass being a potential placement?
No.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Elick?
Yes, I'm a little confused. Is the family plan and the status report the same thing? I guess I'm asking the worker,
Ms. Jones?
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
whoever,
Yeah.
Mahogany, yeah. Yes, Ms. Jones, that's the same thing when you're referring to the status plan. I mean, the family plan, the status report is the same document or similar document.
Yes, they are similar documents.
Okay, I guess has there been a family plan submitted that I'm not aware of other than the status report?
Yes, the family plan was filed.
Okay, when was it filed?
It was filed today.
Okay. Okay, I see a visitation plan. Is that the same thing as the family plan?
It's not the same thing. The visitation plan only references visitation.
Okay, I guess I haven't seen it. I'm sorry. All right, I thought I had it up to date, but maybe I didn't see that one. Okay. So is it reflected in the family plan that if Kristin Arnold gets a positive or a negative UAE or health follicle test, then she won't have to do the random UAE test? Is that reflected in the family plan? You mean to say that again?
It's not reflected in the family plan. It was decided at the family group conference. It was approved by the supervisor that if she does have a negative UA, that we would discontinue the substance abuse assessment.
Okay. So if she does, then would there be some amendment to the family plan, or how would you document that?
The family plan will be reevaluated, and it will be reflected in that plan at that time.
Okay. So assuming she has assuming Ms. Arnold has that negative UA and hair follicle, then she doesn't have to worry about doing any further testing pending a new hearing down the road whenever we reconsider all the status of this case.
I can speak for now. It was decided that she would not have to do a UA.
Yeah, my only concern was that if she didn't do the she did the UA and it came out negative, and then she quit doing the random test. I wouldn't want it held against her, because we relied upon the fact that it was a negative thing. So I don't know if there has to be an email or something to document if that is a negative UAE and hair follicle test, that look, you don't have to do any more random testing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Again, after pending the negative UA, the family plan will be reevaluated and it can be staffed.
Okay. All right. Well, it would be safe for her to rely on that we don't have to do any more random UAAs once that, if she gets a negative result, until CPS tells her otherwise.
Well, pending the negative UA, it'll be staffed and the family plan will be reevaluated, and then we can discuss that further.
Okay. Will there be another meeting, or how would you do that discussion?
Just like me and Mrs. Arnold discussed the family plan, we discussed it amongst each other.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I just didn't want to have any confusion if something fell through the cracks and it looked like she had not complied with the family plan or the order of the court. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that if this negative UAE and hair follicle test does occur, then I guess y'all have a meeting and clarify that. and probably have some emails back and forth or something to reflect that, correct?
The family plan will be reevaluated.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So how's Ms. Arnold been complying with the directives of Child Protective Services and the court orders of Child Protective Services so far?
So far, she's been cooperative. She's been visiting, showing up to the visits on time. She has scheduled some of her court-ordered services. No issue so far with her compliance.
Okay. So there's nothing negative to say at this point, since you've been on the case, as to her compliance with Child Protective Services or the court orders?
Yes, she's been in compliance.
Okay. All right, let's see. Yes, pass the witness.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Jones?
Your Honor, if I may, I do have a couple of additional questions.
Go ahead, Ms. McCurley.
Ms. Jones, you were present at the family group conference, correct?
That's correct.
And so do you recall conversations about play therapy and speech therapy for the children?
Yes.
Is that something that the department is currently working to get set up?
Yes, we are.
And so we were looking at doing play therapy for Sadie and for Graceland. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we were looking to get an evaluation set up to see if Weston needed to have speech therapy, correct?
Correct.
And so what is the status of those at this time?
So the play therapy, the play therapy, the therapist has been contacted. The caregiver is just waiting on a date to set that up. And as far as Weston goes, they're still waiting on the provider to contact them in reference to the referral.
Okay, and so does the placement have the provider information so that they can reach out to them directly if they don't hear from them in a reasonable amount of time?
Yeah, they've already been in contact. They just don't have a date set up. They've been in contact with the therapist already.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge. I'll pass the witness.
Anything else for Ms. Jones?
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Jones, let me just ask you, if the at-home study of the aunt is approved, would you anticipate the children would then be placed with the aunt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Elick, let me see, I'm sorry, go back to Ms. Jasper. Do you have any other witnesses?
Just CASA to testify in the narrative if possible as to their update and recommendations.
All right, go ahead. Is Ms. Howell going to do that or Ms. Whiteley?
Ms. Whiteley is the advocate volunteer.
All right, Ms. Whiteley, you may proceed.
I visited the children last Friday. That was the second when Mom visited her children at CPS in Belleville. And I also visited the children at placement that afternoon. CASA's recommendation is that as soon as the home study is approved, if it is, that the children be placed with the Aunt Tina CAS.
All right, anyone have any questions for Ms. Whiteley?
No, Your Honor.
I have a
Your
couple.
Honor.
I have a couple.
All right, Ms. McCurley.
Ms. Whiteley, do you have any concerns with the children being in their current placement?
The only concern I have when I was there, their, if you will, punishment, their idea, if the children misbehave, they get a 20-minute timeout. Even for the 2-year-old, I thought that was a little bit harsh for a 2-year-old. 20 minutes is a long time. And the 3-year-old, they all have the same punishment. You get time in is what they call it for 20 minutes. But that's the only concern.
Okay, you don't have any concerns over their safety?
No, ma'am, not at all, no, ma'am.
Okay, so are you asking the court to continue that placement until we can get a family placement approved?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, so Mr. Elick, any questions for Ms. Whiteley?
Yes. Do you have any concerns about the car seat situation for transportation of the children?
Well, Mom, Kristin Arnold contacted me after I left 10 minutes before she came out with children, and they were leaving with the transporter, and they were short one car seat. I know Weston was buckled, I think, across the chest, but not across his stomach, or the bottom buckle wasn't buckled because Weston didn't want it buckled. So the transporter, as my understanding, didn't buckle that. Graceland was in a booster seat, and she should have been placed in a car seat. And Sadie didn't have any type of car seat. And at 4 years old, she should have certainly had something.
Yeah, so that does cause you some concern if there was an accident.
That would, absolutely, yes, sir. I think they should abide by the law. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I guess I'm just saying whatever those concerns are, I hope they get addressed by the transporter of the children for future transportation.
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Jasper, anything else for Ms. Whiteley?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Harrell?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Ms. McCurley, anything else for Ms. Whiteley?
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, so Ms. Jasper, anybody else?
No, Your Honor.
Caller here from, all right, and Mr. Harrell?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
And Ms. McCurley?
I have nothing further.
Okay, so any other witnesses or testimony from anybody? Okay.
Okay. I don't know. We can bring that up. But I'm just, my client wanted to report to you about her attendance at church at the Shepherd Way Church and going to a Bible study, just to tell you she's trying to get straight spiritually and become a better mother. So I'm just going to let her briefly tell you, Judge.
Okay, go ahead.
On my own, I've grown up in the Shepherd's Way Church with Pastor Frank and Wendy Lucas, and I have since, continued to do prayer with, Wendy Lucas, and joined a Bible study as well that had just started up, not this past Sunday, the Sunday before. So I am, doing active involvement with the church as well.
Do you think that's helping you become a better parent?
Definitely, because, during this case, all I've had to rely on is God, because I know my innocence, but, to prove that and, rely on God's faith.
And choices you make, spiritual choices you make in the future that help you in that regard.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, and now as far as the CPS case is concerned, Mr. Elick, how much time have you had on this case?
Up through right now, Judge, I'd say 10.4, 14.4 hours since your last entry. I think you in an order back on March the 17th or 18th. You've already assessed attorney fees for that time. So this is new attorney fees since then, or time spent.
Right. So what's your new time since then?
14,
not counting the protective order.
Let's see, Judge. I'll say 10 hours on this one.
And Mr. Harrell?
Let's see, Judge. I have 3.5 hours, Judge.
And Ms. McCurley?
Including today's hearing, I have about 4.5 hours.
All right. Anybody else have anything on the CPS end of this? Yes, Ms. Bartay, when will we need to come back and review the case?
We're going to come back, Judge, on May 25th for the initial permanency.
What was that date again?
May 25th.
May 25th at 1:30. Okay. All right. Well, so I'm going to, continue things as they are. But hopefully that family placement option will get approved so the children can be with the aunt very soon. I think that would be a appropriate place for the kids to be out of a foster home. All right. Anybody else have anything? We're going to go off the record if not, and then got something I want to add, but doesn't have to be on the record. So anybody else have anything?
Nothing, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay.
Nothing.
So we can go off the record, and I'm going to stop this recording.